Hello, friends. Welcome back to this sacred space with me, your host, Preetha Lal, as we spend time reading the book Eternal Values for a Changing Society by the late Srimad Swami Ranganathananda ji. As you are aware, if you're following this space, the Swami was the 13th president of the Ramakrishna Matan Mission, but he was so much more. He was a scholar par excellence, a spiritual ambassador for India, a philosopher, a teacher. This multi-volume treatise that I have decided to read to you through this podcast is a testament to the breadth of his knowledge and the depth of his wisdom. Today, we will read a new chapter, a short, eloquent chapter where Swami Ranganathananda talks about the path of devotion in Indian spirituality. The chapter is titled Srimad Bhagavata on the central theme of the Bhakti Upasana, Bhakti meaning devotion. Just by way of introduction, the Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavata is the ripened fruit of Vedic wisdom. It is a poetic revelation of divine love, devotion, and the nature of the self. It chronicles the incarnations of Lord Krishna and the conversations of sages, guiding seekers through spiritual truth and inner freedom. It is the purest expression of Vedantic truth, revealing the one reality that appears as all beings, all worlds, and all love. Through the stories of Sri Krishna and the dialogues of the sages, it guides the seeker from ego to essence, from the illusion to the self. Let us begin. Introduction. The Srimad Bhagavata opens with the important question put by Shaunaka and other sages to the Sutta. O thou endowed with long life, it behooves thee to impart us thy true conviction, arising from thy knowledge and experience as to what constitutes the supreme welfare of the human being. From worldliness to spirituality. The Swami says, what is the human being? At the lowest end of the scale, we see him as weak, sense-bound, and helpless. At the highest end, we see him as the divine incarnation radiating infinite knowledge and love, compassion, and fearlessness. God, who dwells in the heart of all beings as their very self, incarnates himself as man to redeem humans from finitude and fear. God and his name Nami and Nama are non-different, says Sri Ramakrishna. By taking shelter in his name, the human being takes shelter in God himself. When the human being, absorbed in his worldly pursuits, pleasures, and cares, becomes aware of the existence of God as an ocean of love and God's manifestation in an incarnation, he ceases to be a worldly person or a samsari and becomes a devotee and begins his life of spirituality. This is Upasana, or worship, by which he commences a new chapter in his life as the Upasaka, or the worshipper. It says in the Srimad Bhagavata, fallen in the terrible ocean of worldliness and feeling helpless, if man takes recourse to his name, which is the fear of fear itself, he shall be immediately redeemed. The glory of pure love of God. Loving devotion to a personal God who is the ocean of love and self of ourselves, enjoying the accounts of God's Leela or play as an incarnation, constant remembrance of God and taking his holy name, doing all actions as worship and serving all beings in a spirit of worship of him, all these constitute the protean forms that Upasana takes after the first step has been taken from a life of worldliness to a life of spirituality. To such a spiritual seeker who has tasted love of God even a little, God acts as a powerful magnet, the attraction of which is in proportion to the overcoming of the impurities of his heart or her heart. The Srimad Bhagavata stresses the importance of the remembrance of God and the repetition of his name for effecting this purification of the seeker's initial love of God, which is mixed with worldliness in varying degrees. Through the answer of the sutta to Shaunaka's question, it proclaims the glory of bhakti, which has become completely pure. And it says, that verily is the supreme dharma or duty of a person by which he achieves love of God. in this case of his incarnation as Krishna. A love that is motiveless and unobstructed, expressing in its purest form as love for love's sake, for which the heart of a person achieves his highest welfare. How to cultivate pure love? The cultivation of this pure love is the purpose of Upasana, or worship. The Srimad Bhagavata suggests the following powerful means to this end, and I quote, "Seekers who are endowed with Shraddha, or spiritual conviction or faith, and who desire to listen to things spiritual, O holy sages, develop an appetite for words relating to God through frequenting holy places and service of the great ones or the saints." Unquote. The Swami continues, "Through the exercise of this appetite," continues the Bhagavata in the next verse, "the heart of the devotee becomes pure in a mysterious way." And the Swami says from the Bhagavata, "Of those who listen to words relating to Krishna, whose name is holy to hear and to utter, he, abiding in their hearts, wipes away all evils in their hearts, for friend is he of all good people." Unquote. The human being's spiritual growth, 3 stages. And in the next 4 remarkable verses, the Srimad Bhagavata speaks of these 3 stages in the human being's spiritual growth and development, culminating in spiritual freedom and beatitude. When the evils of the heart are mostly eradicated through constant cultivation of spiritual life, the human being achieves a naisthiki, or steady love of God, the most glorious one. The Swami further explains, "In the early stages of spiritual life, our love of God is weak and tepid, and under the interference of our worldly loves. It finds expression only in fits and starts. But as the heart becomes purer and purer, love of God becomes steadier and steadier. Absolute steadiness and absolute purity are possible only after the realization of God, which is the theme of the 3rd verse. In the meantime, the 2nd verse refers to the inner transformation resulting from the onset of naisthiki bhakti." And the Swami quotes from the Bhagavad again, "Then does the mind attain the state of being unsmitten by lust and greed, which are the concomitants of rajas or passion and tamas of inertia, and becoming steady, attain the tranquility of sattva or lucid calmness. The heart is now ready for the visitation of the Blessed Lord." The Swami quotes again from the Bhagavad. "Thus, becoming tranquil in mind through the practice of the yoga of bhakti to the Blessed Lord, there arises in him, who is now free from all attachments, the realization of the truth of the Blessed Lord." The next verse, which is an adaptation of the well-known verse of the Mundaka Upanishad, conveys what happens to a person as a result of this realization. And it says, "When the Lord, who is one's own self, is realized in the heart, the complex knots of the heart are broken, all doubts are shattered, the actions of his are dissolved." The Swami continues, "Bhakti as the science and art of spiritual life. Herein is expounded in clear and precise terms the science and art of spiritual life according to the path of bhakti, or loving devotion to the personal aspect of the impersonal personal God, as preached by Vedanta. God is one, but the paths to him are many. These paths are broadly classified by Vedanta into the 2 paths of negation and affirmation. Jnana Yoga and Raja Yoga form the former, the Bhakti Yoga and Karma Yoga form the latter. But the Bhakti of the Srimad Bhagavata partakes of both Bhakti and Jnana, as well as the essential elements of Raja and Karma Yoga. Sri Ramakrishna describes the delicious nature of the Srimad Bhagavata when he, comparing it to the sweet pantua made of cottage cheese, it's a Bengali dessert, friends, says, "It is fried in the butter of Jnana and soaked in the syrup of Bhakti. Jnana Vairagya Yuktaya Bhaktaya." Love of God combined with knowledge and renunciation is a phrase that recurs often in this great book of spirituality. Its message of the unity of the impersonal personal God, the unity of the God of the Jnani and the God of the Bhakta shines in one of its famous verses, where it says, "Knowers of the truth declare that it is one and the same truth of non-dual pure consciousness that is spoken of as the Brahman or the Absolute by the philosophers, as Paramatman, the Supreme Self by the mystics, and as Bhagavan, the Blessed Lord by the devotees. Differences are only in the name, Shabdayate. They arise from the different methods of approach. The paths are many, but the goal is one," says Sri Ramakrishna. Conclusion. I cannot better conclude this short article on the central theme of Bhakti Upasana than by referring to another sweet and greatly musical verse of the Bhagavata that proclaims the passage of the human being from wretchedness to blessedness. And it says, "Those who fill their ears with the nectar and drink the nectar of the words relating to the Blessed Lord, who is realized by the saints as their own self, purify their hearts, which have been made impure by sense attractions, and reach the presence of his lotus feet." Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time and presence here today. Next episode, we will begin to read one of the most significant works of Swami Ranganathananda, one that finds immense resonance with the modern day philosophies of life. Science and religion, two seemingly dichotomous concepts of thought that the Swami has woven together with such lucidity and wisdom. We will read his words in several parts, starting with the next episode. Until then, this is Preetha, your host. You were listening to the Eternal Values for a Changing Society. Stay well, friends. Namaste.